Have you ever felt like your laners want to die to every gank whenever the enemy jungler shows up, but your laners never help you whenever you try to help? Doesn't matter what you do, they fall behind and blame you for their bad plays. This guide will teach you how to be the jungler, the one who turns every gank into a guaranteed kill, forcing the enemy jungler to rage at their laners for feeding you non-stop. Teammates might be turbo inters, but guess what? So are theirs. The difference, you are going to capitalize on it. Let's make every gank feel unfair. Before I show you extra clips of what a good gank looks like, I brought some bad examples as well. Let me teach you the mindset you should have as a jungler. These are the key things to look for before ganking, and you can look for these things when all 10 champs have been logged. During the loading screen, you can decide which lane to gank and why. The 3 things I'm looking for before the game starts are 1. How volatile each lane is, 2. The gank setup my laners offer, and 3. Does the enemy laner have any mobility? Let's imagine you have this draft in front of you and you're playing Grace on the blue side. The first draft will be easy. So if you look at the top lane, both laners have teleport and a lot of sustain. So I would say they aren't volatile really. Right? What about gank setup? Well, Mundo has a slow if he can land his Q, so that's not really a gank setup. Then how mobile is Garen? He doesn't have high mobility except for the extra movement speed from his Q. Then in mid lane, Ahri and Yasuo but could run Ignite. Yasuo has to get close to Ahri in order to trade, while Ahri can harass Yasuo from a distance. But Yasuo can push the wave in faster than Ahri, which makes it way harder for her to trade, and it's a tough matchup for her. We can assume they will trade a fair amount. What about gank setup? Ahri has her charm, but Yasuo can always win it. It's a scare shot on top of that, so it's easy to miss. What about Yasuo's mobility? He is only mobile when he has minions to escape with his E, but his W can save him most of the time. Then we have bot lane, where Draven is one of the most aggressive AD carries in the game, paired with Nautilus, an engaged support who looks to fight against Caitlyn and Lux, who are known for their long range and the ability to poke their opponent. So they are definitely volatile, and we can expect a lot of trade to happen. In terms of gank setup, we have Nautilus Q, and he can always look to flash out to attack Caitlyn or Lux. What about mobility? Caitlyn can E obey, but Lux has to burn her flash if she can't land her Q on Nautilus in time. These are just the basics and one example, and I want you to look for them in your games, but obviously there are more advanced things to consider. If you understand these things, you already have a good starting point and you will have more successful ganks in your games. Of course, this was just a Graves example because most people in my community main Graves. But if your champion has gank setup because you are playing something like an MMO, you can still look for ganks, even on laners where the only gank setup is a Garen Silence or an Ahri charm which can be dodged. More advanced things would be to understand wave states and see if the enemy laner is going for a crush because their wave is slow pushing. Does the enemy laner have any vision, or is their flash on cooldown? Obviously, we have to consider some game-changing ults as well, like Mordekaiser having ult, and if you gank him, you will find yourself in a 1v1, which most of the time you won't win. So gathering information is crucial, but I will give you examples for all of these things in a second. In the first example, Graves decided to pet bot, which if you remember from earlier is a great decision. He has a Nautilus, but in the mid lane a fight just broke out. Despite being a full clear jungler, you can always look to break your sequence if you see a great gank opportunity. A bad jungler would ignore the fact that both mid laners are low on HP and would finish their raptors. Without Graves coming, Victor would have died, but now instead Graves has a kill and Victor is safe. He continues his full clear after the great gank on mid lane and sees in the meantime his bot lane is fighting. In this case, he has enough time to finish his red buff before looking to gank, so he goes bot to clean up. Jinx died unfortunately, but it's fine. He gets another kill and can crush both waves to make Tristan lose minions. In the previous example, wave state was good for his laner, but this one is pushing towards the enemy, which as a laner you never want. This topic deserves a whole video on its own, so I won't go too in depth into this one. In the third example, from the same game, Graves is clearing his camps, but if you look at the top lane, the wave is pushing towards the enemy tower. That wave is in a bad position, so you can always expect a fight to break out and move towards it even before it happens. If you understand wave states, you will have an easy time ganking and getting even more free clears. In the next clip, pretty much the same happens. Gwen doesn't want Ambessa to freeze, so she's looking to fight her, which again is a great opportunity for Graves to gank and get a free kill. Even if a matchup is not too volatile, a bad wave state can make any laner go for bad trade, making the matchup volatile, which results in easy ganks. Final example of this game showcases the good ganking angle by this Graves. He could have ganked from the bush, but that's a bad idea most of the time. Instead, you want to come from behind your opponents to cut their escape path. Wukong was close, so a 2v2 breaks out. But since Graves is a stronger jungler thanks to his good early ganks, they will win the 2v2. Unfortunately, enemy bot lane will clean it up and make this a 2-4-2. Overall, it was a good gank from Graves. I want you to pay close attention to the angle Talia is taking to gank this Aurora, which leads to a successful gank. Always try to cut your opponent's escape route and force them to walk into you, making it easier to land your scare shots and get a free kill. Breaking your sequence for a good gank is always worth more than clearing one camp. Graves had a slow reaction time, but he could have counter-ganked this and probably trade 1-for-1. Just to showcase a bad gank as well, I would never recommend going for this one. She was already under her tower, making it really hard to get a kill and would require you to land the max range scare shots. The next clip shows a good example when the enemy laner is overextended and has low HP. Generally, that's not a lane you would gank, but because Renekton has no flash and he's low on HP, the chance of him killing you in a 1v2 is really low. Once again, Renekton is overextended with not that much HP. His flash is still on cooldown, so this most likely would have resulted in a kill even without Blitzcrank being around. Since your support was looking for a play, you can keep an eye on him and follow his plan. This is what a bad gank looks like. Renekton disappears from the map for a few seconds. When a laner does this, you can expect them to go for the board. The longer they disappear, the deeper the board is. Maokai has a wave to take, while Renekton has ult and ignite while being full HP. So that's the first scenario you can go for. He clearly sees you and you don't have kill pressure on him. At this point, you are just wasting your own time. You are giving off valuable information and telling the enemy jungler they can go for a Drake. Then a bad gank example from Talia who forces a gank before her laners can get into the position to help her. First, you have to think about if you can get a kill alone. If not, can you get a kill with your laners? Patience is key as a jungler. Because of her aggression, she gave the enemy AD carry 2 kills. This time we have a Zyra jungler who goes for a gank on the overextended Renekton. She will miss the kill, but she had the right idea. She managed to burn his flash, so there is a higher chance of killing him the next time. This is why it's important to track the enemy summoner spells. Graves sees that now his laner is fighting on top, so he's looking to get the kill in case Renekton fails. But he can expect Zyra to do the same, meaning he can hover his laner and protect from a potential gank, while also having the chance of killing Zyra if she decides to face check Graves. It's important to think with the enemy's jungler's mind as well, which will allow you to counter gank more often. Viego is looking to gank mid while he has a solid gank setup from Syndra. But Malzahar is healthy and really close to his tower, so ganking him here makes no sense because it's too easy to escape this gank. The next gank is all about patience. Ambessa was clearly going for a kill here, but Kha'Zix didn't wait long enough, which allowed Ambessa to run away and escape this gank. Sometimes those extra 2 seconds can be the difference maker. Next is a badly executed dive, but the timing is even worse than the execution. There are no minions left while the enemy minions arrived. They made a 3v1 dive into a 1-for-2 trade. The players are fighting and they are both low on HP. Viego makes the right decision to be around and look for a potential dive. This time a good example of a dive. The minion wave would crash, there are no enemy minions, and the opponent is low on HP. Ambessa gets the kill without Viego, but still he had the right idea. Another example of an overextended laner who has no flash and doesn't have ignite. He feels comfortable being aggressive since his opponent is low on HP. A champion with no flash and no escape spell is just that to any well-timed gank. The main takeaway here was his E placement. I know this is Viego specific, but he tried to cut the enemy's escape route once again before committing, to make sure Corki has no chance of escaping his well-timed gank. Let's see ganking jungler examples as well. After 3 camps, both of them saw the action on mid, so they looked to rotate mid and clean up the fight. Xin Zhao had the right idea of defending his mid laner from a gank, but then he looked to trade a kill on Talia, which in my eyes wasn't worth it. Trading kills when tempo is everything for you early on is not a great thing. He saw that the enemy laners are low on HP and Ezreal wants to crash. He wasn't patient enough, so Leona cancelled her recall to defend her ADC, then decided to commit too fast and too deep, resulting in a 1v2, giving another kill to the enemy team for no reason. Kai'Sa and Braum will get both kills, but this really isn't on scene, and this was just a bad gank you want to avoid. A good example though, in our second to last clip, is Lee Sin waiting for Kai'Sa to walk up, where without flash, with that amount of HP, he has no chance of surviving. Another key thing here is how Lee Sin waited with his Q and decided to ward jump instead of trying to land a max range Q. Be patient and force your enemy to try and dodge your skill shot. That will slow their movement because they will move left and right, making it easier for you to catch them. Just to show good gank as well from Xin Zhao in my last clip, now he is patient enough and waits for Talia to move close to him before going in. Then with the full combo and Jhin helping, it was an easy kill to get. So this was my guide on how to gank as a jungler. I didn't make it too specific, I believe, and gave you some advice that is applicable to any jungler. If you would like to see more content like this and you found it helpful, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. What other content would you like to see on this channel? Until then, see you all in my next video.